question that we're looking at is whether transparency measures, specifically the process of videotaping court sessions and putting the court sessions online, can improve judges' behavior, make them more professional, maybe even reduce corruption, and overall contribute to the rule of law in places like Ukraine. Ukraine's, in general, had a large problem with trust in their institutions and the judiciary in particular, and with judicial quality. They're ranked among the lowest third of countries in the world, or at least the lowest third is fair enough. And in terms of most indicators of rule of law and corruption, anywhere between 7 and 10% of people say they trust the Ukrainian courts, which is abominably low. And so this was an effort by the creators of the Open Court Project, particularly a lawyer named Stanislav Atrian, who's our partner, who wanted to give people more access in terms of transparency to the courts, understand how they work, and wanted to create some incentives so that judges would be concerned about behaving badly, about being rude, about not following procedural rules. And for example, one thing we're looking at is pretrial detention, holding people incarcerated while they wait for the trial without going through the proper legal process. And so one idea is that if you're being videotaped and you don't follow the rules in terms of checking, for example, is this person actually a threat to flee, then if the video's there, you might actually follow the rules and not wrongly put somebody in pretrial detention. So that's the type of thing that we're hoping to contribute. So we worked together with a partner organization in Ukraine called the Open Court Project, and back in 2015, there was a law that was part of Ukraine's series of judicial reforms to make basically an effort to improve the quality of the judicial system. And one of the things that came out of those reforms was a law that gives almost unrestricted rights to any people, I mean Ukrainians primarily, but anybody really who wants to go into a court and videotape, the right to do so. And so the Open Court Project was a group of lawyers who on their own started this process as an NGO that they started going in, doing the videos and making an online archive. Where we come in is in order to assess whether that works or not, you need some sort of randomization. In the same sense of like, you want to know whether an aspirin pill works, then you need to give some people placebo and some people the medicine. And so we work with them to create a design where they randomly assign some court hearings to videotaping and not others, and then we look and try to measure whether there's an effect occurring. So the Open Court Project does the actual videotaping and posting online. The part that the barriers would come in would be reactions to videotaping, which again is a right, and judges don't, other than very limited scenarios, have a legal ability to block that. They sometimes try, but we don't ourselves carry out that part. And I mean, that's the NGO partner organization doing that. So there's always challenges that we encounter, in some specific to Ukraine. Some would happen anytime you try to run a big field experiment. There are things like just even, figuring out which hearings are coming in a given day. That would be perhaps easier in a U.S. court than in a Ukrainian court. And we run into challenges like that. But Ukraine overall is a very friendly place to foreigners, very open to, because there's so many people invested in these reforms and other types of reforms from the civil society side. There's a lot of partners to work with. So it's certainly, compared to, say, Russia, a much easier place to do research. We're still in the early stages. We've done a pretty extensive pilot that involved over 1,000 court hearings, but ultimately we're probably less than a third of the way done. So one of the goals for today was just to present how the pilot worked, what the design was, and get feedback before we really scale this up. Currently, we've done this work only in the capital city of Kiev, and we're planning on extending it to at least 4 other Ukrainian cities. And so we need to know whether this works at this time. If it does, then we can talk about how we expand it. And so getting a room full of people who know something about either Ukraine or about courts or about field experiments, and today it was a room full of all that in various combinations, is incredibly helpful. And so you get some sense of whether the approach is right, whether you're thinking about it right, what you can change, what you can improve. So it was fantastic.